signal, manoeuvre.
Mirror on the wall.
Right, one take, Shanklin.
Okay.
One dump, Shanklin.
I think he's going to nail it.
One bad belly, Shanklin.
You're going to nail it, aren't you?
Did you have to land Rogan Josh in fucking Cardiff? Like?
You're going to nail it.
Just keep on a little bit further.
You got this, mate.
Welcome to Stick to Rugby, brought to you by Defender. And this week, in this episode, we have legend prop Joe Marler.
It's only the 11th take.
We have another one. No, you actually did that very well.
Yeah, you do.
Search for the hero inside yourself.
Search for the hero inside yourself.
I've got to be honest, I took my bench captain responsibility to new heights.
What a load of nonsense.
Shaun Edwards was obviously Welsh coach, defensive coach.
Oh, fuck hell! Get off line!
Yeah,
fucking get off line! What about gherkins?
Mustard. No, not gherkins.
No gherkins?
No,
extra mustard, extra
salty.
ketchup.
Oh, it's okay.
Too salty. Although that's the reason why McDonald's put gherkins in their burgers. Otherwise, they'd be classed as a dessert. They're so sweet.
Really?
Yeah, but anyway.
Fact of the day with Shanks. Maybe there's a little opening niche for me to go and review service stations.
Chicken wings to start, with like maybe a blue cheese dip.
Buffalo.
Yeah. No chicken. Then I would, for mental.
It's mental. Mental. That did not deserve a giggle in the slightest. It definitely didn't deserve a fucking outburst the way he just did. Grow up, move on.
Right.
We know that.
I've got a question for you, Joe.
Oh, I can't wait.
What was a young Joe Marler like? What was
Oh, complete helmet.
Were you?
Yeah.
Same as the old one then.
Nothing's changed then. You learned anything in your career?
Nothing. Awful. Wouldn't listen to anyone.
But you were
anarchist. Pure anarchist.
Were you? There was a little bit of the old...
not interested.
Sex Pistols.
Yeah, not interested in anything, but also wanted to... Didn't want to be included in anything, but wanted to be included in everything.
But surely that formed you into, who you are now, in a way.
Well, I guess, yeah, you can say that about everyone, can't you?
The other question I was going to... Is there one moment in it, because I know I have this, where I've said things in my career and in my life that I wish that somehow the filter hadn't really worked that day, and I wish I could take them back.
Oh yeah.
And but it doesn't have to be something you said. No. Is there one moment in your rugby career that if you had it again, and it doesn't, I'm not on about all that nonsense with the Welsh and all that. I'm on about just anything. Is there one moment you'd like to have back and say I'd like to do that again?
I'd like to, yeah. Oh. It's easy, isn't it? Like, I'd like to redo the 2019 World Cup.
Final.
Or, in fact, no. I would like to redo the day before selection was decided for that final and go a little bit harder. Throughout my career, whenever I was dropped or...
You took it?
I took it. I was never one, and I always hear boys going, I'm going to go have a meeting with the head coach, and I said, what for? He's not going to turn around and go, actually, you're right, mate. You're starting now. Actually, you're right. Go for it. And then I sort of understand, they need something to get after. But I was sort of like, it's amazing. Yeah, I'll just do my role, whatever's given to me. But maybe I'd have liked to go back and go, actually, I think going against this scrummaging unit, maybe I'd be suited to... Even if it's just for the first 30, mate, I'll do that bit.
You know what? I've rarely known a player who's able to turn a coach's decision around and get him to pick him again.
Has there been any?
I don't think so.
No, so...
Once they made their mind up.
They've made their mind up. You're only going to fuck them off.
Yeah, make it worse.
Yeah.
But what you can do is make it uncomfortable for them to talk when they tell you.
I'd already done that.
Yeah.
That was my go-to. The amount of times Steve would sit down at the dinner table when I was up playing under Borfers, and he'd go, "You make me feel incredibly uncomfortable sitting here." I was like, "You're the one who sat here."
Yeah, and you're the one who's decided to drop me.
What's the worst thing you've done or said after being maybe dropped to the bench, or have you done anything crazy?
No, nothing. Like I said, I'd never go down that route. The only time maybe I then took exception was when they put me on the bench and made me bench captain.
Oh, that's a proper kick in the teeth, that is.
I went, well, if that's my role, so be it. But
the captain this week, Joe,
at the same time,
of the bench.
At the same time, what a load of nonsense.
I took my bench captain responsibility to new heights.
How many times did you do it?
Well, a few at the end of my career.
Right.
So Nick Easter, Minty was in the team, and I was bench captain for the quarter-final against Australia in Marseille. And I went to check into my room on the Thursday before the game on Saturday, and with day off, and the Georgians have just checked out, and obviously they'd had a party in my room, and everyone had fucking vomited all over the room. So I went downstairs, and I said,
the Georgians, was it?
The Georgians. I went downstairs, and I said to the lady behind reception, I said, I think there's a problem. Someone spewed all over the room, and there doesn't appear to have been a cleaner in here. And I said, could I have another room key? Bear in mind, this is the Holiday Inn, Garden Holiday Inn Hotel for a quarter-final, and England must have got last out the hat or something. And she said, there is no other rooms. So I thought, I need a bit of inspiration here. It's a day off. So I went and had a little ciggy outside, a little espresso. And I'm looking at the Europa Hotel, at the Holiday Inn, and next to it is Europa car hire. So I hired the biggest car they had, and I phoned up the rest of the bench. And I said, lads, and I phoned Dan Luger. I said, Dan, book us a table at Sank in Saint-Tropez. And I took the bench out for lunch in Saint-Tropez. And you'll love this. So Joe Worsley we got Pete Richards as the driver, designated driver, and Joe Worsley's grabbed his phone while he's driving, and he's changed his number for Brian Ashton, the head coach. Right?
Oh no!
So we get to Saint-Tropez, we drop we valet park the car, and we sat there, and we've got lobster chips arriving. There's like the whole bench we might have had a couple of bottles of rosé, but it was only holding pattern really. And anyway, then Joe sets off, doesn't he? Sends the first text, and Pete goes, "Oh my God, and bear in mind it's a 2-hour drive from Marseille to Saint-Tropez." He said, "I've got a text from Brian Ashton." I said, "Well, what does it say?" It said, "Andy Gomes has gone down with food poisoning. Looks like I need to speak to you in the team room in 10 minutes." And so, obviously, no one else knows it's Joe Worsley on the other side of the table. So, Gomes, as the senior captain of the bench, he said, "What shall I do?" I said, "Well, tell him you've gone for lunch with your parents, and and that you can't meet him in 10 minutes, and you might meet him in a couple of hours." He said, "Oh, good idea, good idea." Anyway, Joe left it another 10 minutes, sent another text. He said, "Pete, don't worry about that. I've decided to promote Sean Perry straight to the team." Playing with his head. We then get invited to a party at Bridget Bardot's house, right? So we've done...
Of course you do.
Well, the boys weren't...
Yeah, no, of course you do.
We weren't drinking.
Yeah.
We thought we were in for a penny, in for a pound.
Yeah.
So obviously we've gone to the party, and all the wives and families of the Australian rugby players are there that we're playing against, so they can't quite believe that the bench, and bear in mind we were a laughing stock during this World Cup. So we turned up at this barbecue. Anyway, got to about 11 o'clock at night. I thought, right, it's about time we left now. So we got a standing ovation from the entire Aussies. They're asking for our match tickets for the semi-final afterwards. Anyway, it gets to about 60 minutes in, and Brian Ashton makes 3 changes, myself off the bench for Minty, Pete Richards comes on for Andy Gomersall, and Joe Worsley comes on. The 3 of us are there. And I give Pete Richards credit. It's an Australian put-in, and Gregan's there, and he's just dropping the ball in the scrum. And he says to him, he said, "I'll tell you what, George," he said, "your wife looked really good in Saint-Tropez yesterday."
For fuck's sake.
He got done for a delayed put-in. and then Joe gives this penalty away just about... and Andrew Sheridan was...
Monster,
and Andy Gomersall was unbelievable. I mean, the whole team were unbelievable. The lads played well. It was about 2 minutes before the end of the game. Joe gives this penalty away. Joe Worsley, I said, "You stupid, dull." I said, "You see those laces?" I said, "If he kicks it, she might as well fucking hang himself with it."
Oh.
And he's like, "No, don't." Anyway, Sterling Mortlock stepped up. Somehow, it just sailed past, and we won the game. And it was it was a highly amusing...
I'd really like you as a bench captain.
That is a huge bench captain, isn't it?
Yeah.
That is
Lobster,
a mega.
chips, Saint-Tropez. Yeah.
Maybe I'll have a little word now with the future bench captain.
Yeah. That can be your role now with Team England, can't it?
Nurturing the future bench captains.
Yeah, if you want to win a World Cup.
These guys...
Well, mate, the importance of the bench these days, don't underestimate
the finishers,
okay?
mate, finishers.
Mate, finishers, all right?
Yeah.
It's good.
Stick to Rugby, brought to you by Defender.
Shanks, you were dropped a few times, weren't you?
Were you?
Yeah, a couple of times.
Were you? Who was your...
Rested.
Who
Come on,
dropped
Gats is not here.
Would Gats drop you the most?
You can say
Did
this.
you not get on with Gats?
No, the problem I had was that all these young superstars coming through. So Jamie Roberts, John Davis, James Hook. I had a bad knee as well. I was never right. I was never right after I injured my knee in 2005.
Right. Was it a bad one?
Yeah, it was
What
a bad
was it?
one. Cartilage gone completely.
Oh. Can't you get new cartilage?
The worst time I was on the bench was the epic game in which Wales beat Scotland right at the last minute. It was 2009 and Shane Williams scored a try, and then after that game it's famous because Andy Powell drove the golf buggy through 4 miles.
Gats told the story about how did you find that out. He said, I didn't find out until I was watching the game on the Sunday, and he said, and there was suddenly an announcement on the television that Andy Powell had been arrested.
The best thing was when he got arrested, he was really hungry, and he said to the police officer, I'm in a lot of trouble, aren't I? And the policeman said, yeah. He said, do you reckon we can go through McDonald's? The policeman said, yeah, go on then. He said he's handcuffed in the back, and the officer,
handcuffed?
yeah, and the officer had chicken nuggets, and Andy Powell had the tomato sauce between his legs, and he said the officer was dipping his nuggets.
That's so good.
Some ketchup.
between his legs.
I got to be honest, that I would have thought, I mean, I know the police have got an awesome responsibility, but surely you're Andy Powell, you just played for Wales, and was he going to get a packet of darts, was he?
Yeah,
and
he wanted to
I mean, surely they could have dropped him off at home and not.
Well, I think they wanted to, but then I think it escalated too high, but...
Oh, no.
I mean, it's a legendary story. Dangerous.
Brilliant.
I have to say that, but...
It's unbelievable.
Yeah. Talking about services, did you have a favourite service? Cobham, was it, did you say?
Yeah, Cobham's my favourite. I don't mind Clackett Lane. They've updated it now down at...
I've got to be honest, Joe, are you a
Junction 5.
Are you TripAdvisor for service stations, though?
Well, maybe
like
that
it.
is my angle. Maybe
do
you know
like
how
it.
they do A Place in the Sun or Homes Under the Hammer or Who Lives in a House? Like, what was it? Through the Keyhole with Lloyd Gross. Who done that?
Lloyd Gross.
Maybe there's a little opening niche for me to go and review service stations. And
also, remember that changing rooms programme, Lawrence Dallaglio Bowen, who could be the guy that changes, because a lot of them need an upgrade service stations, don't they? Really. Do you know the England dressing room? I mean, it's completely different to what it used to be. Just breeze blocks, concrete breeze blocks.
Yeah.
And Clive went to the RFU and said, "I'd like to do something with the changing room." And they said, "We've just blown the budget on Jason Robinson, so fuck off." All right, so, and he said, "You've got skin-tight fucking shirts, you've blown the budget left, right and centre." So he actually approached changing rooms to change the England dressing room. And
Lawrence Llewellyn Bowen?
Yeah, the first part of it obviously doesn't look anything like
Did they do it?
They did it, yeah. And yeah.
Well, isn't he a Welshman? Lawrence Llewellyn Bowen be a Welshman with a name like that?
Llewellyn.
That's
my middle
Llewellyn.
name. I know it's my middle name.
Is it? 1 L or 2?
I got 4 L's in it.
Really?
Yeah.
Llewellyn. Greedy Llewellyn.
Yeah. We had Shaun Edwards was obviously Welsh coach, defensive coach.
Oh, fucking hell! Get off line! Fucking get off line!
Hardest game in world.
Oh, fucking hell!
But he stopped music.
That's fucking brilliant.
So Gethin Jenkins used to do the
stopped music?
Yeah, because apparently...
He was married to Heather Small. I mean,
but apparently it wasn't the right beat. And there was a certain beat that would release endorphins in your head. And the beat was too fast because it was like drum and bass or something. So he banned music for one game. We got hammered by South Africa.
What was Heather Small's?
Music was brought back in after that.
Search for the hero inside yourself.
Search for the hero inside yourself.
I've got to be honest, Shaun has got the Monday morning honesty sessions, right, where, as a coach, you go, do we bollock them? They won. Do we do this, do that? I'm sure we've all been in teams but it was so brutal. It was like, it was so brutal. He said, lads, Stuart Abbott missed the tackles. It was very rare. He said, Stu, there's only 2 reasons when you're not in the defensive line. You're either dead or you have a serious spinal injury. He said, anything else, you get yourself back up and in the fucking defensive line.
Well, it's a valid point.
Yeah.
It is a valid point.
He did.
He was great.
He said to me,
I'd love to have been coached by him.
He said to me on the Monday, he stopped the little clip. He went, lol, if you want to watch the game, you can pay 60 quid like everyone else.
just standing there.
Just slaughtered me. I was ruck inspecting.
Yeah, but mate, would you like that? Would you respond well to that sort
of course,
feedback? Like I worry.
The more experienced the player, I don't think you can talk to players in quite the same. I mean, Ibanez, right? Our third Champions Cup game. We got taken to the cleaners down at Stradley Park. We got beat. No, at Wasps at home. We got beaten, and it was the back-to-back game. And in the review after the first game, Raf came up to me and said, I didn't really understand what Shaun was saying. I said, don't worry, no one does. But I said, what he was basically saying was that he thought we'd signed Raphael Ibanez, captain of France, 99 caps, and it looks like we've signed an imposter. And
you're a piece of shit, do you know that? You're nasty.
Anyway, no, he gets, I didn't want to explain it the long way. And the following week, we're playing down at Stradley, and 10 minutes into the game, Matthew Rees is stretchered off, and Bobby comes on with the water, and Raf says, Bobby, ask Shaun who he thinks he signed now.
Do you notice the difference between when you started to the end of your career?
Oh yeah, giving feedback to teammates or receiving feedback now, fucking chalk and cheese. It's like, hang on, this is a minefield. People take everything so personally. Unless I used to say, unless I'm calling your mum a twat, like I'm doing it from a place of love. Like I'm giving feedback, and I'll happily take it. And there'll be occasions where we have a confrontation or a disagreement on it.
Yeah.
But I'd much rather we had that as opposed to not broaching the subject at all or giving the feedback, because how are you going to get better?
Yeah,
I know you've got to change it a little bit because society's changed. You know, you can't.
But the smart
do it
coaches
one way,
will pick the players that they know. Well, one, the very good players who have got enough experience to take it on the chin, and the rest of the team are going, well, if you're saying that to Joe, how can we better liven our acts up?
The worst thing I always thought was like if you missed a tackle or you didn't give a pass and they showed it on the, like in the analysis, that would hurt more. But you'd want that because you wanted it to hurt and you wanted to make it right. I always
you're not going to learn.
Yeah, otherwise,
you're not going to learn.
But you want to be. It's good sometimes to make people feel uncomfortable.
Do you know what's
in those situations.
Do you know what's worse than you being put up on clips of making mistakes, or whatever? Not being in the room.
Well, that's it.
Just not being part of the team, not being the thing. So at least you're putting your head above the parapet and making mistakes in order for you to get better. That's what you want.
Telling a story the other day about Shaun. He lost his brother very tragically in a car accident just before he joined Wasps, actually, and really had a massive impact. And he ended up going to Lourdes on a pilgrimage, and he met this guy, Father John. So anyway, fast forward I only realised this when we were playing in our first Premiership final against Gloucester in 2003, and I walked in the change room. I said to Calix King, I said, who's the Franciscan monk in the corner of the change room? You've got a fucking monk in the change room. He said, oh, that's Father John. I said, what was he doing here? He said, well, Shaun obviously met him at Lourdes and it changed his life.
Well, he brought him over?
So he brought him over because he's our like good luck charm for the game.
Fucking hell.
Then I go out on the pitch and we end up playing Gloucester, and Steve Collins, the boxer, who's a really good mate of Shaun. So next thing, I'm doing the huddle, doing the low chat, and Steve Collins walks over and then looks at us and then walks back, and Shaun said, did you have a chat with them, Steve? He said they look perfectly pumped up for that game. So every big match we played, Father John would always be in our changing room.
Was this a paid role?
No.
Is Father John getting some bunts for this?
I think he's actually become a very good friend. What I'm saying is Shaun's actually quite spiritual as well.
Yeah, he is.
He's very spiritual and very
So he's got the ability to have that upfront conversation, and give the feedback, but also recognising it from a.
Well, he knows how to motivate.
softly.
Talking about spiritual and maybe taking a bit of a darker turn now.
Spiritual.
Which you like.
Yeah.
Death row. What would be your meal?
Coleslaw.
Just that?
Coleslaw.
Any specific coleslaw from a restaurant? Like Nando's coleslaw?
My go-to coleslaw at the minute. No, Nando's coleslaw, no good, mate.
No. Okay.
No, my go-to is obviously if it's not going to be homemade.
Yeah.
Which I make a good fucking coleslaw, by the way.
Okay.
M&S.
It would be like the deli, the supermarket deli. Creamy. There's also one with a bit of cheese in.
Yeah.
Have you tried that one before?
Yeah.
But coleslaw. But
you've got to have something with it. You can't just have you can have what you want. But
is it my death row or your death row?
Yeah.
What are you having then?
it's a joint crime and we were on death row together.
Well, yeah, because you can get done for that in America. You know, if I was to commit a crime and you're in the room,
Yeah.
you're getting done as well.
I'll have a pint of cyanide, I think, straight away.
To drink? What do you have to drink then?
Or a
So
morph.
you got a bowl of coleslaw.
Yeah, and a dark and stormy.
Ooh,
Okay.
Yeah.
Dessert? Coleslaw?
Banoffee pie.
Oh, nice.
strong.
Oh, like a
Strong
proper
choice,
traditional banoffee
Yeah,
pie.
okay.
Well, what are you having?
I actually didn't ask you your starter.
Oh, fuck off.
that. Fuck off.
Okay, right.
Starter?
All right,
A
yeah.
prawn cocktail.
Very
Prawn cocktail, like proper classic, into a bowl of coleslaw, finish that off, have a banoffee pie, wash it down with a dark and stormy.
And then the pint of cyanide.
Chicken wings to start with like maybe a blue cheese dip.
Buffalo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No chicken. Then I would for main.
Mental.
for
It's
main-
mental. It's mental. That did not deserve a giggle in the slightest. It definitely didn't deserve a fucking outburst the way he just did. Grow up, move on.
Main course, I would probably go. I'd go burger. I love burgers.
Oh, burger.
Yeah.
Like how you medium, rare?
No, not rare.
No.
I now realise why
Medium.
you've got the farts and your stomach's playing up.
Bacon
Yeah,
and cheese and yeah.
Relish.
Jalapenos.
Yeah, I don't mind relish at all.
What about
A bit of mustard.
gherkins?
No, not gherkins.
No gherkins?
No,
Extra mustard, extra
salty.
ketchup.
Oh, it's okay.
Too salty. Although that's the reason why McDonald's put gherkins in their burgers. Otherwise, they'd be classed as a dessert because they're so sweet.
Really?
Yeah. But anyway,
Fact of the day with
Yeah.
Shanks.
and dessert, I'd go New York cheesecake.
Okay. What's... Okay.
Yeah.
Drink? What have you said?
Bottle of vodka.
Bottle of vodka. Lowell, what are we having?
I think I'll have a bit of pasta to start, sort of ragu,
Pasta,
bit of, and then I would have a veal chop with
A veal chop.
Yeah, it's another level in that.
in
That's
sputter and
another level.
sage.
A
And
veal
then-
chop.
And then I like ice cream, mate.
That veal chop reminds me of my
Nodino,
missus'
cool. granddad.
Actually, when I killed a deer. Yeah?
I beg your pardon.
It was actually I had the wheel of
You
misfortune.
killed an old one?
I had that wheel of misfortune. I was pulling out the mate's house that had made it, and I hit a deer.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, for fuck's sake! And it's still like jolting about when I got out, and I went, oh god, who do I call? So I called my missus' granddad, Arthur. He was like a farmer type and all that lot, and he's proper strong stomached. Called him up. I said, can you come out with me with this deer? He comes up, parks in front of me, says, right, help me, and he drags it into the bushes with him, and he pulls out this fucking great knife. Might as well have been a machete like thing.
Mick Dundee, is he?
Yeah, proper. And I was
not
like,
a knife.
fucking hell, Arth, where have you got that from? He was like, oh, it's from home. I was like, right, okay. And then he's done the good thing, because this deer was all mashed up, and he's put it to sleep, and like he's calmly hugged it and done the job. And I'm like, thinking, and then I've looked away, and then when I've looked back, he's hacking away at his leg. And I went, Arth, what are you doing? And then he pulls up one of the legs and he hands it to me. He said, put that in the boot, will you?
Yeah.
I went, what?
Venison for Sunday night.
Yeah, but I go back to the boot and open it. It's perfect. It's immaculately lined with bin bags, like Dexter. You know, like the thing. This like serial killer lined boot. What the fuck? Put the leg in. Go back. He's checking other bits. He was like, no, that bit's shot to shit. No, that's gone. Thinking. I was like, this is...
Not the first time he's done that, is it?
This is worrying.
That is worrying.
And then a week later, we've popped round for a cup of tea to see Marge and Arth, and
A hedgehog.
I'm sitting there at the table, and then out of nowhere, he just puts a plate in front of me. I said, what's that then? He said, oh, that was that deer last week. I went, what? He said, go on, I've done a venison steak for you. I went, what the fuck? And it would be rude
it's actually nice.
if I said no. And
Yeah.
I did, and I ate it, and
Yeah.
I couldn't get the facts that...
You'd killed it.
Had nightmares ever
Yeah,
since.
I couldn't get that out of my head, so it might have tasted nice, but it was really quite bitter for me. I couldn't have that dark.
Yeah.
Don't know why I've told you about killing a deer. What were you killing? You told me to you asked something
Nothing.
about killing stuff, didn't you?
We were celebrating, I think.
No, we started talking about
veal,
death row, didn't we?
Death row.
chop.
What was your pudding?
Veal chop, ice cream, or tiramisu. I like
Just
it.
an ice cream.
No, well, that's like
What are you, 5?
no.
Glad he answered. No, I'm not. I'm not 5.
Gelato.
Gelato.
Nice.
Yeah, you pick and choose when you're English, don't you?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, fair enough.
know, when you
Gelato. What flavour gelato?
Cioccolata.
Oh, okay.
Stracciatella.
What about minto? Minto cioccolato?
Pistachio ice cream, boys. What's the point?
Okay.
What is the point of pistachio ice cream? The amount of
Pistachio
times I get
shouldn't be.
mixed up for mint choc chip.
What?
Well, they look the same, don't they?
They look this. No. Real mint chocolate chip ice cream isn't green like toothpaste, mate. That's shit. You're not going to the right gelatos. Okay? You need to go to the proper gelatos if you want proper gelato. You know? You don't have any of that in the valleys, do you?
They don't mind a little Italian.
Not from the valleys, are you? You're North Wallian.
North Wallian.
What's funny about that?
Joe, what was when you got capped in 2012? What was your first song? What was your song?
Adele, Someone Like You.
Oh, you did tell me that.
Yeah, I was more nervous about that than I was playing against the Springboks.
Can you do a couple of lines?
Can I, mate? That is ridiculous.
If you had a 5-a-side football team, right, made up of rugby players, but who didn't have. Oh, go on. Sorry.
No, you carry on, mate.
Turn the volume up.
Found a girl. No, go on. No,
if you had a 5-a-side football team, last question.
5-a-side footy team.
But it was made up of rugby players that you've played with and against, but obviously didn't have to have any footballing ability.
Oh, okay.
Who would be in your 5-a-side team?
Oh, this is good. Lads, well, you know how, like, over your career, you think you've, like, got good mates, like you make these bonds and thingies, but actually some people talk about, well, you'll only ever have a handful that you keep in contact with.
It's true.
Is that true?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I thought that might be the case.
I don't know.
Okay, lads, then, we're going to go with Danny Kerr.
Yeah.
Goal?
It would also be quite useful.
In goal.
Just lob him, couldn't you?
Mascot. He's very good at it.
Joe Launchbury.
Okay.
Dan Cole. I mean,
is
he in my team?
He's brilliant. I love Coley.
He's in it. He's got no footballing ability whatsoever. So the laughs we'd have.
Doesn't matter.
No, I know.
He's
but
very
you've
funny.
put it in a 5-a-side context. But I worry about his thing. But for Coley, he's in there, of course. Oh fuck! This is it. Can't it be Super Six? I usually play Super Sixes
go Super Six
on a Monday night.
Super Six.
Used to get in trouble for that at Quinn's actually, because contractually you're not allowed. Were you allowed to play other sports when you guys played?
I don't think so. There'd be a few boys that went skiing.
Yeah. Not allowed to do that.
Anyway,
though.
carry on with your team.
Yeah.
Before we digress.
So we've got Danny Kerr, Joe Launchbury, Dan Cole.
Coley Woley.
Fuck, this is tough to real nail down, mate, here.
Try and make it quick.
Well, it's a fucking tough question,
Yeah,
that.
it is. Who are your pals?
Well, I don't really have many, to be
No,
fair.
don't.
Coley.
Eddie Jones being there, wouldn't he?
The Beef.
Beef.
He's one of your best mates.
Mate, fuck, you lot always moan about the Beef. Honestly.
No, I think
it's such a bad thing.
I think he's a great guy.
People are still fucking talking about him. You lot in the media always moan that you haven't got anything to talk about. The fucker used to give you everything.
Well,
He was brilliant.
Good or bad. Yeah, it was great.
I think it was great for the game.
My real answer is I'm not bothering with a 5-a-side team, mate.
Yeah, we are.
Because in response to you lot, there's...
What about your relationship with Coley then?
I can tell you in a few years' time
Yeah.
if the 5 guys are still about in my life that would be in my team. Do you know what I mean?
All right.
You don't know yet.
To be
until-
visited.
Why did you and Coley get on so well?
Coley, because
Yeah.
we were complete opposites.
Yeah.
North and South.
Yeah, really opposite, but we ended up, you know,
You would
laugh at every single press
each
conference
other
you
up.
did together.
he's just fucking brilliant, mate. And the amount of times that he would just whisper stuff in my ear that he didn't have the confidence to say out loud, but knew that if he told me anything, it would be out in the next
You
30
had no
seconds.
filter and it would go straight out.
And he'd just give me something and I'd put it out there and then he'd be sitting there giggling and everyone's like, what's the matter with you? And I'd be like, it's him who's told me. And he's just like,
Your little diary that you did in Japan with the was honestly it kept me going. I think.
I love it.
Jamie
Yes,
Roberts
mate.
tells a good story because obviously he was with you at Quinn's.
Yeah.
And he said sometimes some of the games, like you'd be stood in the tunnel, you'd be like speaking to each other, going, "You up for this?" And you go, "No." You go, "Nah, me neither."
Oh,
And
he's
you'd
told that story.
And you'd run out, and then next minute you'd be man of the match.
Doc's told that story before. I honestly went through periods with him where I just couldn't be bothered.
But you do feel like that sometimes before games.
I can't be asked.
But then you switch on as soon as the whistle goes.
Because then the adrenaline kicks in. You go, shit. Well, if I'm going to be out here, I might as well do something. And it would either end up in a decent game or a red card. And then I would just justify, well, at least I was doing something. Even though I got red card, at least I did something. Yeah. There was a number of players that wouldn't do anything. Yeah. They're not having a good game or a bad game. They're just,
get their attention.
I used to try and every time there was, if they said to Ugo, you're giving out the man of the match award. Obviously, Danny Kerr would get it immediately.
If it was, you guarantee that.
If it was Lowell, and I tried to make it mean most of the time, I'd either give it to Joe Marler or Joe Launchproof.
Guilty.
Because you actually want someone who's going to say something interesting on.
Oh yeah, it was like
drop a few bombs.
When we won the Prem in 21 or 20?
Yeah.
And
what a game!
They picked me for man of the match after, and I went, "Yeah, of course you have." And they're like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "Right, you've picked me because you just want something outrageously said, don't you? This isn't a reflection of whether I've played well or not, is it?" And they're like, "No, it is." I was like, "No, I know your game.
I got subbed off at half time.
Yeah, I know your game, and I tell you what, even though I know your game, I'm willing to play. Here we go. What do you want? Okay." It's always good fun, mate. I love Coley. Back to Coley. He'd fit in really well in this car, if I'm honest.
He's just a great lad, mate.
You ever seen Eggheads?
Yeah.
The film.
Every time I look in the mirror.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
I've got the three of you in the back here. He's one of the driest blokes. I'm just really glad that he's now opened up. He's got his own podcast and he's
doing well,
sort of opened up, and people get to see him more. Like what I experienced with him on a fucking weekly, monthly, yearly basis. Now the world's actually getting to see him. What a lovely, wonderful human he is, and an unbelievable player, mate. He was incredible.
I think that's part of like how people understand you, because you are quite open on social media, and you'll say what you feel, you say what you think, you'll be funny.
Yeah. What do you mean? Well, it's a great tool. It's a great tool in this day and age to actually connect with the fans in your words.
Yeah, it's true.
As opposed to back in your day, like I speak to a lot of journos that are still going, that have been back over the years, and that it used to be at press conferences or chats after the games. You'd build up relationships with players and things. And then a load of players became guarded and thinking, because people were writing things that they might not have said or construed them in a different way.
Well, the players are a bit sensitive about what he's saying.
They can't take that sort of criticism. So this sort of takes that out. It gives a way of you to actually communicate with your fans.
And that, to be honest, I think rugby,
direct.
and you were brilliant at it. There's a lot of others out there, but there's not enough people that are prepared to show a side of themselves that. Because, the fans see the rugby player, and if they like that rugby player, they want to know about the human being.
But do you think the game's got any responsibility of that? Because we talk about wanting to build names and build stars.
If it wants to grow outside of because it's quite niche rugby, if I'm honest. It is quite niche, and if it wants to grow, then people have to have a little bit more than just... And it's also quite complicated as a sport.
Yeah.
Not everyone can do it, though, can they?
No.
Or wants to do it.
What? Rugby?
Yeah. Social media. And,
right.
Let themselves be vulnerable. Or talk about themselves.
No,
or be
you're
funny.
right. Yeah, they don't, and you don't have to.
They don't, not at all.
You don't have to. But if people want to go out and do that, and you want to make them feel like they can be themselves, that's it, being themselves.
Right, before we park up, who would play you in a film?
Gerard Depardieu.
Because of the nose, yeah?
Yeah.
Depardieu, love that.
Who'd play you in a film?
Max Brannan from EastEnders.
Who'd play Lowell in a film?
Probably Jason Statham, I'd say.
That's fucking ludicrous. Jason Statham for Lowell.
Well, he's on steroids, isn't he, really? I got called. I was sold Heather going at the Galway races, right? And
you were sold Heather?
Well, they do.
Lucky Heather.
They try and sell you Lucky Heather. And I said, look, please, can you fuck off and leave me alone, please? And she looked at me, she went, you're just a shit Tyson Fury. And I said, so you have got a point.
Bob on. It's really hot, mate. Can you just put the aircon in it?